my name is Ben Still, and I teach saxophone at UNC Charlotte. And I'd like to take a few moments just to talk about the 9-10 All-State saxophone solo for the 2021-2022 North Carolina school year. And this year, the solo is what appears to be an etude. It doesn't have a composer, so I'm actually not familiar with where this one comes from. But it's a piece that has what looks like two sections. The first is a slower, more lyrical section, and then the fast section is a little faster and technical. So to start out, I like to look at the musical descriptors that are given at the beginning of this piece. And then we see it later in measure 10, there's another musical descriptor. So the first one that I see is Andante Cantabile. And Andante is more of a tempo reference. It's a slower walking pace. So that quarter note equals 76 is a great walking pace. And then cantabile means singingly. So when I play this, I try to imagine that I'm singing, even though I'm playing the saxophone. And I don't count myself as a singer. But what I try to do when we sing, I like to think that singing is, for the most part, a really lyrical art form, and we're trying to be smooth and connected. And so, for instance, that opening 3 measures is under this really big slur. And that slur, to me, means to not tongue, but more importantly, it means I really want to make sure all those notes are really smooth and connected. So make sure you're playing with really fast air, good air support. Even though the dynamics are just a little bit softer, make sure you're playing with really good air support and you're trying to move under keys. You're making smooth fingering motions rather than clomping down the keys, because that will add jolts in the sound, little spaces in the sound, things that we don't want from a lyrical standpoint. In measure 7, there's the words poco rubato, which poco means a little, and then rubato is sort of this push and pull of time. And they're also combined with the tenuto marking, which is that horizontal line that we see on notes sometimes. Now, tenuto markings generally mean to play a note full value, but in this case, I like to think of the tenutos as I'm pressing on the note just ever so slightly. I'm adding just a little bit more emphasis on it. Not accenting it, but I'm sort of stretching it just a little bit because they have a unique articulation marking on it. So if I'm thinking rubato, I'm actually maybe playing them slightly longer. So that D, the E, and the F sharp, playing them just ever so slightly longer. Because I'm stretching the time there, I like to think of it as I'm borrowing just a little bit of time. I'm playing them just a little bit slower than my normal 60 notes would be. So perhaps the notes then that follow it, I might take back that time and play through those just a little quicker. And so you can, of course, experiment with rubato here. I think it's a fun challenge to undertake. The last thing I'll say about this opening section of the 9-10 solo is this is a great chance to showcase some vibrato. If you've never tried vibrato, this is a great place to try vibrato. One thing I'm finding with a lot of students is we learn the mechanics of vibrato using a metronome, and we're moving our jaw just ever so slightly up and down to create this extra color. But students maybe tend to be fearful of putting it into an actual piece of music. And I just want to encourage you to go ahead and try it. It might not sound exactly the way that you hear recordings of vibrato or instrument or performers of vibrato, but you got to try it. And so I love hearing students just trying vibrato, and from there you can work on refining it. So I just want to encourage you to try vibrato. It'll add some color and will add to that lyrical, very singing quality to this etude. The second half of this etude is a little bit faster. Again, that musical descriptor, allegro agitato, allegro meaning fast, and then agitato meaning agitated. So there's like you're a little irritated, I guess. It shifts from a major sound to a minor sound. So minor, we tend to think sadder or darker, and maybe that's where the agitation comes. And the tempo picks up just a little bit. The tempos aren't 1-to-1 in both these sections, so it does pick up just a little bit. And this one's in cut time. And my first piece of advice is if you have little to no experience or with cut time, or you're just uncomfortable playing in cut time, while you're practicing it, pretend like it's in 4/4 and play those like they were just regular quarter notes and eighth notes. And basically, when you get it to a tempo that's really fast and you hear a lot of 4/4 clicks, then you can take away beats 2 and 4 and just hear a click on 1 and 3, and now you're in cut time. So it really just, it's meant to make sure that the metronome, you don't need the metronome at whatever 88 times 2 is. You can just have it at 88, and that click then represents beats 1 and 3. Again, for this one, you have some dynamic contrast. You have articulation contrast. So when you see staccatos, playing them nice and short and lifted. And then when you see slurred sections, playing them really smooth and connected. And there are two endings to this one, the A and the B section. I recorded both A and B, so hopefully you can check both of those out. But A just has more of those staccato quarter notes from measure 25 all the way to measure 28. Whereas in the B section, you only get those quarter notes in measures 34 and 35, and then it transitions into faster eighth notes. So I suppose we could say that the B ending is maybe a little bit more difficult from a technical standpoint. For that technique, just play it really, really slowly. And as you're making those big leaps, just making sure you're using lots of really good fast air. The saxophone is not a small instrument. It's not a short instrument either. And so you have to send the air through the instrument quite quickly to make sure all the notes resonate and come out. Of course, if you have any further questions, you can email me at bestill@uncc.edu. And I wish you well in your preparation and happy practicing.